Welcome to the Guided Expressions podcast with Martin Williams, the place to learn and be inspired to live your best life. Here is your host, Martin Williams.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Guided Expressions podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast by going to guidedexpressions.com/podcast. You can also go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube, and all the podcast episodes can be found on one of those platforms, with the exception of YouTube. Actually, we're still working on getting all of those up there, but hopefully within the next few weeks we can get those harmonized and totally everywhere where people can find them. So thank you again for tuning in. And today I wanted to talk to you about the idea is to pick a lane, right? So if you've ever been on the interstate or any kind of highway, you may have run into this type of person, or you may be that person who won't stay in one lane, right? They kind of swerve in and out of different lanes. And the problem with that, of course, is that it's not safe, right? And it can cause, things like accidents and things like that, and also tickets. Usually state troopers are looking for people who do that kind of thing, and typically will pull that person over and give them a ticket. So it's not the best way to drive, and if you do that, you might want to consider doing something different. But anyway, picking a lane is also an issue for people who are looking to start a business. And I know that I personally have had issues with this because, you have so many ideas, you have these great ideas, and, you want to execute on all of them. And the thing is, we have enough time to execute on them all, just not at the same time, right? So it's important that we understand that we have time, but we have a finite amount of time, meaning that, we're not on the earth forever, and we only have a defined amount of time to execute on all the things that matter in our lives, right? If you're normal, every single thing doesn't interest you. Like, there's a lot of things that don't interest me, and that's fine. They may interest other people, but they don't interest me like that. Like home and gardening. Okay, I can appreciate a beautiful garden, but I'm not interested in doing it, right? Salsa dancing, things like that. Those are things that, I can appreciate a good dance when I see it, but it's not something that I'm personally interested in. So there's things that you're not going to be interested in. And so right away that that's probably not going to be something that you would start a business around, because you don't have a general interest in it. But, if there are things that you are interested in, then those are the things that you should focus on. So what I would say is pick 3 things, right, that you are interested in, okay? 3 things. So there's things where maybe you've been in it for a long time, right? So that would be one thing. And then there's something else that you may have come upon a couple years ago, and you say, well, I don't really know a lot about it, but I want to find out more. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is maybe your dream, something you haven't really told people, but it's like a secret dream that you have that you wish you could do that. And then that would be number 3. And so what I would do with each of those arenas is really start researching what it means to get into that business. Because a lot of times what we think a business requires has nothing to do with what is actually required for that business. And we're making, you're in danger of making a lifelong decision based on something that you thought was true, right? Instead of actually doing the research and talking to people in that business and getting an idea of what it takes to start that business, right? Let's say that you want to get into flipping houses, which is a great business, right? And we see people on TV who flip these homes and, they make, let's say they make $80,000, $90,000 in a 30-day flip, which is amazing profit. But, some of the shows are starting to show all sides of it. Like they're starting to show what happens when things don't work the way that they should. What happens when a buyer falls through? What happens when they uncover, mold in a house or things of that nature? So a lot of times people get into a business like that and they don't understand all of the ups and downs in that business. And I'm not saying that you're negative in your outlook, but, you also want to be realistic and understand, okay, there may be things that happen that are, not under my control. So I need to, be prepared for those types of things. So it's important that we know what we're getting into, right? But once you do the research, don't research for 6-7 years, right? Take a couple weeks, a month at the most, and research the field that you want to get into, all three of those fields, right? And then once you've done the research, right, figure out which field you can get into the quickest. Okay, because at the end of the day, you want to move into execution mode. You don't want to stay in plan mode, right? For those of you that may be new to the podcast, I do this thing called the blueprint, right? And the blueprint is divided into 4 areas. It's mindset, vision, plan, and then execute. So what a lot of people do is that they stay stuck in their mindset phase or the vision phase, right? And then at times they can also stay stuck in the plan phase. And it's important that you don't get stuck in those phases. You want to continue moving through until you get to the execute phase. When you start executing, that's when the results and the harvest starts coming in, right? But as long as you stay in a perpetual state of planning or a perpetual state of visioning, then nothing happens, okay? So it's important that we do that. Now, you take those 3 areas, and whichever area is the one that you can jump into the quickest, do that, okay? Jump into it, start executing right away. What's going to likely happen, okay? You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to do some things that aren't, correct, or, maybe your timing is off. That's fine, okay? Embrace that learning period, okay? Embrace it. Take the lessons to heart, learn from them, and then move on. Get better. Focus on getting better, right? But the biggest thing that I want you to take away from this particular lesson is pick a lane, pick something. Don't take 2-3 years trying to decide what is it that I want to do. What am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Don't take 2-3 years to decide that, right? Maximum 30 days. Maximum 30 days. Decide the lane and then jump in it. And if you're wrong, that's fine. You may be in it for a year and you say, I don't really like this. Then you can get out. And then you can try something else. But pick a lane, jump in it, start learning, start, partnering with people who know more than you. Take them out to lunch. Try to soak up as much knowledge as you possibly can so you can make the best decision. And then, once you get into it, you can make an even more informed decision because you actually have feedback from doing it. The best part about execution is that you build wisdom, and that wisdom is what brings wealth and money to you. So many people are trying to look for wealth and look for money, but wisdom is what brings money. The more you do, the more wisdom you get, right? There are people in their 20s who have lived a lifetime, and what it's done is that it's positioned them to basically make as much money as someone who's worked one job for 30, 40 years, because that person who's worked that one job really never branched out and did anything else, right? They stayed at that one job. I'm not saying that, I'm not coming against that person, but my thing is, if you want to live a life of wealth, experience as much as you possibly can, and you can't do that if you don't pick a lane. So pick a lane, get in it, stay in it, and flourish from there. Okay? My name is Martin Williams. Thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast, like, share, comment, all of that good stuff. And I appreciate you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Guided Expressions podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify to get all the latest content from Guided Expressions. No one builds a house without a blueprint, so why are you trying to build your dream life without one? That's how the Blueprint course was created. The Blueprint course is for people who know they were meant for more. Created by Martin Williams, the Blueprint is a streamlined way to help you create the life you've always wanted. Get instant access now by clicking the link in the description box or going to guidedexpressions.com/blueprint.